All right, I'm gonna be engraving on the show tonight, just so you know, because like I got an order, and of course it's from a place that where they order from me all the time, and they literally are like, "Hey, we need this on the 19th. Can you get it to us?" And I was like, "Yeah," but now I gotta work while I work. So, hi everybody. I know the show was going. I saw you. I knew what you were gonna do.
Hey everybody, welcome to Laser Source Podcast, the number one podcast if your bones hurt. Mine do. Guess where I took the kids today?
Uranus.
The trampoline park, bro.
Oh,
The trampoline park. And I will tell you that when I cleaned up my daughter's poop off the floor this morning, that was not the grossest thing that was on me because I went into one of those foam pits, and that was foul. That was foul.
Why?
Dude. Well, mostly because the kids were like sinking in it like quicksand, and they don't have the
go.
like.
You can make new ones. Abort.
They don't have the surface tension to like.
You already sent in your taxes. The write-off is done, bro. Like, just wave goodbye and leave them.
That foam had just like the smell. I can't even describe it. It was yeah. So that was the grossest thing I've had on me today. And dude, it was something. But mostly I'm just in pain, dude. Like every part of my body hurts. That was the biggest workout. I told Miranda, I was like, if you want me to fucking exercise, just bring me here. Because it's fun. It's actually fun.
Can you imagine as a parent though, real quick? Let's frame this up for everybody. You have your kid's birthday that you've been planning. They're all excited to go to this bouncy house world or whatever. And then Alex is there with his kids and he's in a sweatsuit with like a sweatband on his head. Like, hey guys, let's go ahead and get some work done. Oh,
he's a man.
And he's like shoving kids out of the way by head.
This is basically what it was like, dude. So yeah, I had a good time, but I'm in pain. It hurts. I think I gave myself a little bit of a hernia. I don't know. It's the whole thing. So
I mean, you're so old.
You know, I am. And that's where I'm at. Where you should be at is Johnson Plastics Plus, jpplus.com, sponsor of tonight's show. If you haven't already checked it out for some strange reason, there's a link down in the description, plus a discount code that'll save you 15% off just about everything in the store. They have all kinds of stuff. They even sell their own lasers now, which jury's still out on. I don't know. They have like their own branded system.
They've had like the old what's the one that everybody starts off with?
Yeah, like a gantry diode.
Yeah.
Like the Creality ones back in the day.
Yeah.
But they've like turned that into like a line of lasers now. And like, yeah, I think they have like a little CO2 thing, like a polar kind of style laser. I don't know. I haven't looked that into it, but you can over at jpplus.com. So make sure you go check them out. It helps support the show, especially if you buy something, but even if you don't, even just poking around over there really does us a solid because they do sponsor the podcast. So shout out to Johnson Plastics Plus. Also, shout out to everybody in chat. Let's get that out of the way real quick. Smoke Show, Bronson's here, Lara, Engraved Dreams. My wife is here, Mike C, Jim Hamilton, what's good? G Smith. Jason's here from Rotoboss, Chris Lazicki, Allison. I don't know if I checked the sponsored box, but I can do that real quick once Matt's back and talking again. Cheryl, we just had Cheryl on the show. Make sure you guys go check out that episode because that was a blast. Definitely did not conform to standards, but what does around here? And Mickey Burr, what's going on? And Doug. Hi, Doug. And that's the crew so far tonight. Thank you guys for joining us live. We always appreciate when you come by during the show. Matt, sit down and talk about something so I can go check the sponsored box.
Okay.
Here he comes. How you doing, Anthony?
I told Alex earlier that I have to work while I work tonight, which was if you caught the first 17 seconds or so of the show. One of the things I did was I basically established a connection with someone who owns a couple of different golf courses. And they continuously order from me, which is great. And they're not huge orders all the time. Sometimes it's like a big like push of inventory. Tonight it's just there's a specialty order for flask sets, so got to work on those. The leatherette flask set. So I've got the camera back here. I'm going to try and set it up for you guys because I know Laura likes to see stuff be lasered while we talk. So Laura and people like her. We'll do a little live action there. And then the other thing that I've got to do, they just also ordered these name tags. So if you've never done these kind of name tags, they're great. Like they're literally
describe them. I can't see.
Yeah, no, I'm holding it up. They're good.
No, I know, but it's an audio podcast, my dude.
Yeah,
also,
I'm going to. Can you let
tell
me?
Tell me what they look like.
I'm a volunteer. You can't volunteer. Tell me shit. So, anyways, these are like the brass.
You're not my real dad.
Yeah, these are the brass like 2.7. I think it's like 2 inches and 7/8 or whatever. 3 inches by 1 inch. Name tags. And then on the back, basically you can order these. I think we have these on the Amazon links on the buying guide, but they're literally just the like foam tape on the back, and then it's got the 3 magnets. Here you go, bada bing, bada boom.
So it's real brass.
Yeah, real brass,
Nice.
and I hit it with the fiber laser. I mean, this is just the black brass and like deep black brass from the settings, and then I hit it with a toothbrush and some 3-in-1. And I put them into little baggies for them as like a little extra, just to make it nice and so they don't get scratched in shipping. But basically, it's like $5 for a minute and a half of engraving, right? You pay $1 for these, maybe like less than.
I have a ton of those. Those are great.
Yeah, and they usually order 2 per new person. So this is just a fake one that I made. Like this is like I stick it up on there so when people come by or they want to show them.
I get those from customengravingplates.com.
Yep,
Yes.
you can get them from there. You can get them from, I think JDS, JP Plus, Custom Engraving Plate. Like, there's so many places you can get them from. Really cheap, really nice.
JP Plus cuts brass.
Say it again.
JP Plus, they sell
have
cut brass.
They just have
like
have these.
Oh, gotcha.
They're like
Just
name
a
plates.
specific size.
So
Okay.
yeah, these are actually. I also did this. If you're somebody who's near a school or you're working with schools, I did this for the yearbook one year where I just charged $5 flat, and I gave them $1 for every one that I sold. So they got 20%. And again, you're making $3 for just a kid's name. Zip, zip, zip. And there was like 112 of them. So really quick, really easy. And you put them into a folder and you hand them to them. So
dude,
that's
when
what
I was
tonight.
knee deep in Etsy, those fucking sold like crazy.
Yeah, and like the thing is, if you can get them done quick and tossed into an envelope, they're super easy to ship, and it's just you're making 300% or 400% in a minute. You know,
Yeah.
So
and the real metal ones are super uncommon, actually, which might not be true after this podcast goes up. But
well, yeah. And here's the thing: so if you're gonna go to JP Plus and you don't want these, like this is what I made from JP Plus. Like I bought the what is it? The acrylic.
Yeah, Romark.
Romark.
Mhm.
I'm tired. Sorry. Like I literally just got done grading papers. So this one is actually white and it turned into black. And then I got the black turned into white right here. And these are on the CO2 Galvo, but they're the same front and back. Like the magnet works really well on these too. And again, you're paying like $7 or $8 or what is it, $12 for a small sheet, but you can 3 inch by 1 inch, you can make a ton. I also made them out of this, which is the like Flexibrass, whatever it's called. Like that's a really good one. So there's lots of different ways you can make these for companies, and it's the same process, and you can get a lot of money back from like one small sheet of plastic. So
yeah, did you say one of those was like the magnet ones?
None of them are special. Like they're just a sheet that I ordered.
Yeah,
and then
so JP Plus, this isn't a continuation of the sponsorship that we appreciate and love you guys, but they make a sheet of like Romark that is a magnet. Like it just is. It's like one layer of Romark and then the rest of it is like magnet core. So you can engrave it to reveal the black magnet and then just like slap it on shit.
Those are really, really good if you are working with people. Like here in town, I made something like that for people for refrigerator magnets. So CO2 Galvo, a strawberry. I think I got the red one with the black, like you said, the magnet. And literally I just zapped out the thing and put Plant City on it. Boom. Right.
Yep.
So stuff like that. If you can dream it, you can make it. Boy, that was really cheesy.
That was
but anyways, don't you arch that eyebrow at me. Don't you do it, Anthony.
Like you're trying to rip off my motto. No,
I don't even. I can't do it. Do it again. Can you really do that? Oh man, yeah. Look at that. I can't do it.
Yeah.
I like
That's
end
like
up
the
doing
Rock.
like a middle thing. Yeah, you can.
So, anyways, Alex would be the croc. Can you smell what the croc is? But yeah, so that's everything. So that's what I'm doing. And if you see me moving around and stuff, there you go.
Cool. Good shit. What's up, Anthony?
Oh man, things are finally picking up after the start of the year slump. So
yeah, I can see that. You have like, it looks like you're in the middle of like a full blown war zone right there.
Yeah. And before anybody freaks out, I'm not really in a robot dystopian world.
You're not?
It's just background.
What?
You might want to be careful. Like, turn around real quick.
Yeah, I know. It's behind you. But yeah, things are finally picking up after the, most people, especially in like cold climates, after Christmas, nobody wants to go outside or do anything. And it just seems like everything slows down after the beginning of the year because everybody's broke after Christmas and stuff. So like the first couple, this time, almost 3 months has just been like dead slow. And now I'm starting to get some traffic through again and doing, I was just working on a lot of brass today. Actually, I have a Moose Lodge that they bought new bar stools, and people can do like a donation to buy that bar stool. And so I'm engraving their names on those, and they're going to attach those to the stools. And then I did a big plaque, like 8x10 piece of brass that I put a poem on for a church that they're going to hang on their wall. So I've been doing a ton of brass the last few days. So
cool.
Yeah, things are going pretty good. I'm stoked.
Yeah, that's sick. It's definitely been picking up where we are too, which we started at like a super weird time when we reopened. It was like a week before Christmas. So there was just like the busiest week ever and then nothing.
Yeah.
Which was, off-putting and weird, but it's starting to like kind of slowly ramp up again. It's just January and February, dude. It's always like that. It's really good to plan for that too. Like even just financially, I know a lot of people who watch the show don't do this full time, but if you ever find yourself in that situation down the road, or you do this full time, make sure to plan for that. This is definitely an industry with ebbs and flows, like for real. And my first year through this was really hard because I didn't anticipate that. And you go through I don't want to speak for everybody, but I went through like 2 straight months with almost no revenue. It's spooky if you're not expecting it. So brace yourself for that, because that can really suck. But yeah, we're just on our way out of that now, and people are starting to come in again. Rhiannon's been gone for like a week, so I've been just like floundering because I don't have my like AI assistant with me anymore. And so she comes back tomorrow and I'm going back to the shop. We were at the trampoline park because I was like, well, the person that helps me get literally everything I'm supposed to be responsible for done is not here, so I might as well spend some time with the kids.
That's funny.
So yeah, I've just been like kind of getting things done as I can. Did you guys see the Slate video and the follow-up that I did? What did you think of that?
It was great, man.
Yeah, I thought that, like, I know that, and I wasn't expecting it to do as well as the ultimate Slate engraving guide or whatever, where we're actually like talking and doing stuff. But I felt like there were at least some people out there that would have wanted to just see the like water testing process uninterrupted. Yeah. Which is why I put that second video together, because we already had all the footage for it, and it was a pretty quick edit. So I think it really gives you like a clearer look without having to like constantly pause the video and like compare or like take screenshots. You can just kind of watch the whole thing all the way through. So I like that style video. I think we're going to do more. The next one that I'm going to start working on pretty soon is those color shop woods, which was pretty interesting. Have you seen those before, Anthony? You look confused.
Oh, no, I think the ones that JP Plus sent.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember you showing those.
I'm trying to make my way through that just like original box of samples. It's just taking me so long because there's so much other stuff going on at the shop, as all of you guys know. But yeah, the color shop woods are next. That's going to be a weird one too, because unlike everything else, instead of just like engraving through everything in a straight line across the lasers, like they really, because it's wood, they really react differently depending on what wavelength you're using. And some of them like marked fine, but like couldn't cut at all. Some of them cut great and you couldn't get a mark to save your life. Some of them did both. Some of them did none. And I have like all these little samples that I used to have in little piles at each machine, and they've all gotten like lost and mixed up. And I'm probably gonna have to spend a day or two with Rhiannon recreating the settings that I used to film the video, because I don't know if I have all of those written down in one singular place at this point, because it's been so long since I shot the original footage for it. But I'm going to try to put that together, and that should be really interesting because those were fun for some cool projects. I even made a couple like 3D layered signs using just the F1, and I actually like cut all the pieces out on the X-Tool F1 just to like challenge myself and see if I could do it a little bit. And they came out great. They look really good. So I'm really excited to post that video, but that's definitely going to require a heavy hand in the editing bay, just because it's all over the place. You know, those lasers are so different, so it's not going to be a straight comparison, just like the Slate one was. But I'm excited to show it nonetheless.
And I wouldn't really think the F1 to be like a cutting type machine, but it did pretty good.
Dude, it did great. It did nice. Like really, really, really well. Like shockingly well. For the Galvo, obviously, like the CO2 gantry is better, right? It's like the better tool for the job. But I just wanted to see. I bet I have pictures of it. I can look while somebody else. Whoop, I swiped dust off of my touchpad and hid Kyle from the show.
Hi, Kyle.
I can look. I can look while somebody else is talking about something or while we're answering questions or whatever.
There's actually a question already about the video in chat. If you want to click on it, G. Smith said, on the slate video with the water test, did the images reappear after the slate dried out? Or did they stay after it dried? Or was it like a different for each laser?
Yeah, absolutely. They did. They did return after dried out. And so that's why you should go watch the follow-up video, which is now linked in the description of the original video and on the front page of the channel. And I think the thumbnail says, watch engravings disappear. If you click that video and you watch it, it's only like 3 minutes long. It's super short. We just take the plate, the slate plate, we dunk it in the water, we pull it out, set it on the table, and then Rhiannon dries it with the data vac, and that's it. That's pretty much the entire video. So you can actually watch the whole process, see how they look before, during, and after being soaked, and that's it. No questions asked. There's no commentary. The video doesn't cut at all. It's very, very, very straightforward. So if you want to see that for yourself, go watch that video. I published it for that reason, to answer that question, because I didn't think that we covered it super thoroughly because we were trying to stay within time constraints on the larger kind of overall episode for it. And I think the follow-up is really helpful for that. So
do you know what's really great about that though? Like seriously, like one of the mottos we've had here for a long time is burn to learn, because you got to spend money. Literally, you got to burn money to learn. That right there saves you. Even if it's just slate coasters, $1 a piece, if you're doing 6 lasers, just saved you like $10 in cash and shipping, probably another 5 or 6 if you have to ship them over it. So, take a look. It's worth it. Save the video to remind yourself. That's my plan.
The nice thing about the follow-up video, too, is that it's the same exact slate like placemat that we used in the original episode. So you can go back and look at the original episode and you can see all the settings we used. And of course, when we do that kind of testing, I didn't do anything like exotic or weird. There's no like crazy pulse widths or anything. There's no weird focal weirdness that you have to account for. It's all like just super basic middle of the road settings to give you an actual idea of the difference between the wavelengths as much as humanly possible, so that settings aren't coming into account. Obviously, you can change the settings and the results are going to change, but we tried to pick things that were really middle of the road to try to reduce that variable so that it gave you a better idea of what the different wavelengths would do. And that's what I'm going to try to do going forward on that kind of video, because you guys have been liking those kind of videos. That kind of stuff has been doing really well, at the very least with the algorithm. So I'm going to keep trying to work on that kind of stuff because there seems to be demand for it. So that's what I want to do. What's up, Kyle?
Not much.
Cheryl's really excited to see you.
Hi, Cheryl.
Are you sharing anything with the class today?
I've already bled for my new house.
Nice. Now it's
Is
official.
Yeah. Are you gonna? Kyle closed on his house. There, I did it. God, I was trying to let you do it.
Anything exciting and life altering happened today, Kyle? Nope.
That was actually the cut
been...
that Kyle made to get a little blood on the other finger so he could stamp his bloody fingerprint.
That's what I figured. Like you made a deal with the devil for the house, and you're like, okay, soul's gone.
Yep. Oh well.
Yeah,
Kyle's like,
it's been a hectic week.
I'm fine.
Yeah, everything is awesome. Fired. Although mortgage does mean little death in French, right? Just saying. So, welcome to the club.
Thanks, bud.
Yeah, that's exciting. Is your mind brimming with shop setup plans?
Yes. Yeah. I have a lot of ideas that I need to process through. I have a lot more space that I'm not used to yet.
Dare I say, far less distractions.
More responsibilities in multiple places and ways.
There's so much room for activities, is what you're getting at.
Yeah.
There's so much room for activities.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, that's exciting, man.
Got a lot of work to do.
What did I just say I was going to look up? Oh, right. I just scrolled right to it. That was freaking amazing.
I think you might have contracted like a brain-eating bacteria from that foam you went into today.
Yeah, probably.
Resin put it perfectly. Too many ideas, not enough time. Yes.
For sure.
So,
At least you're not emptying an entire house to fill the new one, because people are still going to live in that house when you're gone. So you're not responsible for clearing out the entire home.
No.
So now you have to fill a whole house.
Yeah, you could take your time with that.
I will be.
So we need to talk about lens changes because I was talking with someone who's in the chat right now the other day. No names named. And they were saying they still have yet to ever change their lens out. And I was like, why? And they're a glorious, wonderful person who is super skilled with lasers. But I think they're afraid of lens changing, which I get. I get it.
It's weird. That's one of the only things I know how to do.
Yeah, that's fair. It's like half your videos in the past 6 months. You're like, all right, guys, we're going to change more lenses.
Apparently, I haven't made enough of them.
I know. So, but I think that's a legitimate fear. Do you guys remember the first time that you changed your lens?
No, I blocked that out of my memory.
Yeah, I remember. I didn't think it was that big of a deal.
I remember because it occurred within the first hour and a half of trying to run the laser.
Yeah, I mean, basically, right? And then now I've got different lenses for different.
I was cast into the fire of Mordor.
Yeah, but you also worked here for a year before you knew you were ready to go.
No, it wasn't a year. When I got my first fiber laser, it was
my lenses.
Maybe it was about a year. Well, it was a year after starting to volunteer, I should say.
Yeah. Hang out here.
Yeah.
So, anyways, that was it. So I'm going to change my lens when I find it. Yeah. But I was just going to say, talk about it because it's one of those things you definitely should. It changes your game, man. You can do so much more. You have so much more flexibility and versatility. So, and if it breaks, it's $100. I'm not saying who cares, but it's $100. So like, and that's shipped to you like new. You know,
there are much more expensive things you could learn the hard way and be much more expensive.
Yeah. So when I find mine, which it's somewhere around here, I'm gonna do that. So just a heads up.
Here's just before we get too far away from it and it becomes irrelevant. Oh God, why does this never work? I really need a second laptop screen. Hold on. Let me stop sharing and reshare.
You could share your screen and just change to what you need to, and I'll put it up for you.
I know. I just made it a separate window. There we go. Okay. Here's the kind of stuff that we were cutting out on the X tool.
I know that guy.
Yeah. This was a fake apple for Matt because he's never gotten one in real life.
I would need it anyways. For my kid, you kidding me? There'd be like razor blades with drugs in it.
But yeah, it cut good, the X tool. This is mostly for you, Anthony, but it did a good job.
It came out really nice.
Yeah. This is just like regular ply in the back, and then obviously the red and the green are like the color shop woods or whatever. But it did the job, dude. I don't think that specific one was even cut with the F1. I think it was cut with the CO2 gantry, but the F1 pieces look identical, and it's a very similar kind of like layered project like that.
Nice.
And it's super impressive, so I'm excited to show you guys. But that's that.
Nice little dot size out of that diode. So
yeah, dude,
it's clean.
Yep. And the travel, that focal distance, kind of helps you get through it too when you're not, using a 1-inch lens or whatever that you're using on something like the D1 Pro. It actually like worked out. So
nice.
By the way, your camera just died.
Cool.
But because there you go. Who is it? David said, somebody said, oh yeah, you're not sideways at least this week, so that's a win.
I'm not. I'm not
Chris
sideways. I am right side up.
So real quick, and everybody's kind of talking about their lenses in chat. With the first time you did it, somebody was saying, "Don't mess up your lenses. Like make sure you take off everything correctly." Yeah. And so that's it. So as silly as it sounds, if you're someone who's new here or you just bought your laser or whatever, this is it, right? So like here's the lens, right? Kyle, you probably are smarter at talking about all the pieces and everything than I am, but this is it. So if you have a round like cylinder around this, that's what is it called? What's the fancy word for it? I call it.
It's just a different style of lens.
Yeah,
there's
well,
a spacer.
Like this thing, yeah, the spacer.
So
yes. The first time mine came off, I was like, I have a different lens. Oh my god, I bought the wrong thing. So that could happen to you, but it's just one of those things. This is what it should look like. It's just like a mayonnaise lid or anything like that. You just twist it off. You put the next one in. Keep your lens caps. If you're like me, I only have 2 sets of lens caps instead of 3.
It's the worst.
Well, but what
you can't find them anywhere.
Yeah, and what I do is I take them off. I put it down like this so that it's sitting there, and then you change them out, right? So it's just a process. So, anyways,
I'm gonna just be the devil's advocate and say that I threw all my lens caps away and I don't give a shit anymore.
That's just because you're the devil. You don't have to be his advocate when you are him.
Everything still works fine.
You're making my skin crawl right now.
Oh, dude, yeah, I don't give a shit. All my lenses just sit out on a shelf, and they're all absolutely 100% fine. I don't baby them at all. We were joking earlier, but we do have like a mountain of content about changing your lens. So if you're not feeling confident changing your lens for whatever reason, and I know Matt was saying he's not naming names, and it may or may not be somebody that's even here right now, but if you're not feeling confident about changing lenses, we have just like so much content to back you up on that you can watch. There's everything from just like multi-minute videos where we kind of run through it to kick you in the right direction, to hours-long live streams where either me and Kyle or Rhiannon and I sit and do like a dozen lenses for one machine and set up profiles for all of them. And you can watch any or all of those, and I guarantee you'll feel better about it after having run through some of that content.
For sure.
G. Smith was asking, while we're on the topic of lenses on a CO2 gantry, how can you tell a 2-inch lens versus a 3-inch or 4-inch lens? Got a box of various lenses without markings on them. That's kind of the crappy thing about the focusing lenses over like the f-theta lenses is you don't really know, and you can't really tell by looking at them. So my suggestion would be get a couple small plastic boxes to keep them on for pennies on Amazon, with a little tissue paper, like wrapping tissue paper. Those make really nice packers for those. And then do ramp tests for each of them. You'll find the focal distance. Usually, the actual focal distance will be maybe like half of what it's rated when you're measuring from the nozzle tip to the material, because the lenses don't sit at the nozzle tip; they sit up inside the barrel, if you will. After the third mirror. So, if you want to find out if something is a 1-inch lens, then it would be from wherever the lens is sitting in the barrel to the material. That should be about 1 inch. Disregard the distance from the nozzle to the material. The nozzle material is really good to know too, because you can cut little focal sticks. I do it all the time. They're just like, it's just like a little rectangle with a little circle on the end that you can grab onto and just pop it in there to do quick focal distance measurements if you don't have an autofocus or something. And that's super useful, and you need to know the nozzle to material distance for that. But just for lens rating, if that's how you want to keep things organized, not that it's really relevant, it's not, but if that's how you want to keep things organized, that is the distance from the bottom of the lens to the material. And if you account for that extra space, it should be 1 inch, 2 inches, 4 inches, whatever. So that's how you would go about it. You just have to do a ramp test, find that focal spot, and then take a measurement.
And
1 inch is wild, dude. That, like, my nozzle would be pretty much touching.
Yeah. They're really nice though.
I have a 1.5 inch, and it's like, you're not wrong. Like, if you aren't spot on, it's really bad. But the thing is, if you actually have it in focus, it's dope. That's just dope, 1.5.
You just get that. It's a spot size on.
Yeah, it does really well.
And it's such a large format for such a small spot size too. So those lenses have their place, just like the 4-inch lenses do. A lot of people pop a 4-inch lens in and they're like, what the fuck is this? I'm never going to use this. But then you have to put an engraving inside the bottom of a 12-inch deep, wooden box or something. And all of a sudden, like, that 4-inch lens is the pro gamer move, because you can shoot past where the walls are coming up to be able to scan something in there. Yeah, like edge to edge, and it's really, really useful in that case.
And that's one thing I was going to talk about. So, like, 3 or 4 people in chat, like Laura said she hasn't, Resin said she hasn't, Jack says, Jack in the shop said he doesn't really change his lens either. I'm with you. For the longest time, I didn't need to, but then I started playing with settings, and I started playing with dot size and realizing heat transfer in the dot size and all that kind of stuff. Yep. And what happened is I was able to do leatherette and leather, the fake leather stuff, the faux leather, with the 100, but it had to be so slow because the heat that was coming through on that bad boy was killer. And I was getting like really weird, like charred, like you actually had to do cleanup on it. With the 300, I found there's no cleanup. So I found settings, and that's what's really nice about playing with it. You might not need to, but remember, that's like, I guess it's like buying a hose that has like, like on the hose, there's like the like faucet head or whatever that you can put on it, like the spray head. It's like, imagine if you bought one that had like 21 settings, but you're like, this one does the job, but there's different tools that you have that are in your toolbox that you're just not utilizing, and you can get really, really great results. And just by doing some quick playing around, and we also have settings that are really good. So I'll show you guys like the 300 with leatherette, and most of you guys already know this, but the 300 with leatherette is like, it just zips projects out, right? Mm-hmm. So because the dot size is larger, and it allows the heat to kind of mitigate a little bit better on that surface. And
so you're not just frying stuff the second.
Yeah, instead of piercing through, you're heating and getting rid of that top layer, and it's zero cleanup. So not trying to force anybody to think about it, but just to do it, but just to think about those kind of things, because it's really, really useful.
I change lenses sometimes 2, 3, 4 times a day. Like, it's just all about what am I doing at the moment? Like today I started off with the f330, which is like a 230 millimeter lens. And then I had to switch over to the 70 and then switched back over to the 330 to do some brass on it. So it's like, if I have to do cups, then I'm going to jump up to the 300 too. So it's like, I'm all over the place with the lenses. So it kind of blows my mind a little that people are using one size lens.
Dude, I'm on the same page as you. Like there are days I think I spend more time like swapping lenses than I do actually marking stuff. Because there's just such a wide variety in what they can do. Also, just a little bit of practical knowledge for you guys that are listening. Chris Lizicki chimed in here. I love my 4-inch lens on my gantry. Cuts like a hot damn, which super true. Longer focal distance lenses have a more gradual change in the hourglass shape. So you get a more consistent depth of field, like a more consistent cut through a larger depth of field. You would think it'd be the opposite. You'd want the smallest dot size for the more focused power to be able to cut through thicker materials. But really, if you have the power that you need behind the beam, a more gradual change in the spot size on larger focal distance lenses is going to be much more performant. And so if you've never tried cutting something with a larger lens, you should try it. Of course, that translates poorly to galvo lasers, because with galvo lasers, you often don't have the wattage to back that up at larger focal lengths. But with something like a CO2 gantry, you're usually rocking 100 watts or whatever, and that kind of stuff just carries through, man. You can get really great cuts on things with a 4-inch lens that you could never even think about touching with a 2. So if you haven't tried that, I just wanted to throw that in because I saw that comment and I'm like, that's so true, dude. So
the downside with my 4-inch lens on my 80-watt Omtech that I have is that the pass-throughs, if I'm cutting something big, the pass-throughs don't allow the wood to get low enough away from the beam or from the nozzle to actually use the 4-inch lens for cutting. So it's kind of a bummer, but if it's smaller stuff, that 4-inch just rocks, man.
Dude, that's why I still have the Omtech. I literally use the Omtech for that extra like space to be able to get away with things like that. Mike C, I think Kyle started this one and he's probably going to answer it. Says, speaking of lenses, has anybody found alternative lenses for the longer Nano Pro, which is a machine that Kyle's been testing lately? Kyle, what's the up and down on that?
I haven't reached out to them specifically about it yet, but it's on my list of questions for them. But I don't think there are alternative sizes. And it's kind of oh, Mochi, you're killing me. Down you go. The alternatives don't exist for those as far as I'm aware. I think there's just one size. And it's kind of a specialty lens in that there's not a lot of diode galvos, right? So the only other similar items on the market would be like the X tool, and that doesn't have an interchangeable lens at all by the user.
Generally, I think one of the pros of getting a more professional sized and cost machine is that ability to swap out lenses. When you're getting things that are that compact for such a low price point, there's obviously always going to be trade-on. Not even always a low price point, but just that size alone. There's only so much modularity that you can build into that. And then, of course, they're working with I think this is probably the biggest reason. They're working within engineering constraints to get things that small and compact, which usually ends up generating like proprietary parts and fitments for things, which means you can't just go grab an off-the-shelf lens that would have existed for that machine anyway. So generally, I think when you're working with machines like the X-Tool F1, for example, or the longer, you're not going to end up seeing a selection of lenses. When you get up into the pro level equipment, that's when you really start to see that kind of modularity come into play. And that's one of the huge benefits of getting a desktop machine that size, is that you get to configure your system to do special tasks that you wouldn't be able to do with the more consumer marketed stuff. So
if you think about it, like all of our, for the most part at least, like the Galvo machines have just a handful of different companies that make Galvo heads, but they're all like threaded the same. They all use mostly the same lenses and stuff like that. Whereas something like the longer, or even like the X tools, a thing to keep in mind is if you change the lens or the field size, you're also changing the focal length. Yeah. So the X tool is set up for, 200 millimeters or whatever. If you added like a 300 millimeter option, you wouldn't even be able to use it still, because you wouldn't be able to get far enough away from what you're trying to engrave on to actually even use it. So, I mean, that's another limiting factor for that format of machine, is you don't have the ability to, like, I had to get tower risers for my fiber so that I can use my rotary with the 300 millimeter lens. So,
Mike's saying the lens is removable, but I haven't been able to find other sizes in order to experiment with it. That's for replacement. Exactly. Yep. That's why I pulled that comment up. It's so that when, somebody inevitably like kicks their machine in the head or whatever and like destroys a lens, they can send you a new one and you can replace it. Not necessarily because they have other options available for you. I had something else after that, and I saw that comment. It totally derailed me.
What a dope.
I know.
I think Cubing had 2 questions.
Yeah, we have other questions that are locked in the private chat thing. You want to read those?
Yeah, star those bad boys.
Yeah, Kyle's been after it today.
All right.
They're started. Trying to order both brass coins and golf markers for 16-ounce metal cups. They look like Solo cups, but metal. Any recommendations for where to buy these in bulk? Yeah. Johnson Plastics Plus does the cups. They might have the different style golf markers. I don't remember. JDS is also a good option for both of those if you're willing to set up a corporate account and do all the paperwork for tax remittance and all that. Brass coins, your best bet is either Alibaba, AliExpress, or ask your buddy Anthony to see if he did a bulk order yet. Or
there's I wanted to talk to him about that, because I've spoken to a bunch of people about actually the golf ball marker idea, and one of the guys I spoke to used to run the golf course here nearby, and a coin like a 40 millimeter or 32 millimeter coin, they're not going to want something like that, because when you put your ball marker down, it's because somebody else is shooting the ball or putting or whatever the ball. And if you have a thick, like 3 millimeter or even 2 millimeter thick coin in the way, then it's going to deflect their ball if your marker is in the path. Something to look into would be like from like Send Cut Send if you wanted brass discs or copper discs. But something that's really popular is like they have these hat clips that have a magnet in it, and they use like a stainless steel disc that you can order. They either come together or separately. Yeah, they're probably between a half and a millimeter, and then you can see that way it's laying nice and flat, so if a ball does cross paths with it, it's much less likely to deflect, or it's going to deflect a lot less, and you can keep your friends. So that's something to keep in mind there.
I think those are, a lot of the time, those are also, what is it called, PVA coated or whatever too, just plated. The
PVD.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to think of. So they're typically plated too, so they have a really easy coating to just knock off one pass and you're done.
Z-Mark,
you don't have to worry about trying to deep mark it.
Yeah, and I think we did some of the metal pint glasses on some of the older live streams on the channel too, which you can find on, like, I think some of them might be behind the LMA, so you might have to get onto the tier there to get the extra live streams, but maybe not. Don't take my word for it. You could do a little digging on just the regular channel live streams too, but I'm talking like older, like 3 years ago maybe, because it's been a while since I've done them on the channel, but I still keep them in stock at the shop. People really like those. It's a nice thing to be able to give an option to, and the coating on them is really thin, so they're really easy to work with. It does not take a lot of power to get through that coating like it would on regular powder coated tumbler or something like that. So you can do really, really nice work on them super effectively, even with low wattage lasers, which is one of the things that I really like about them. So I would definitely check those out for sure.
Allison says she's engraving 200 slate coasters on her F1 this week.
Nice.
Using
the little slide thing. Yeah,
I'm all about the automation stuff to make it faster and easier. That's how I roll.
Yeah, Mr. Index over there. If you guys haven't seen it, go watch Carl's episode on the Index. It's pretty sick. He does a bunch of holiday ornaments. Yeah, and that's just so precise, dude. It's so cool to watch. Yeah. Even if you don't have any intention of getting one, I would still watch that video because it's just cool to look at, you know?
Yeah.
We did that one too.
And
question for Matt.
What's up? I am
Bronson says there's this jewelry place near me who uses Lightburn but doesn't really know how to use it to engrave their pieces. How would I for them to teach them, and how much should I charge?
That's actually a great
Matt question.
I was gonna say that's like a great Alex question since he has a business that does it. But my thing is, think about how much you make an hour on your laser, right? Like what you can do. And what you're trying to teach them and your proficiency and what it is they're trying to do. Because if they're just trying to learn how to use Lightburn, that's something they could probably find pretty readily. Oop, don't know what that was.
Sorry, that was me. My bad.
He's flicking his mic with his finger.
This ladybug came right at me and then landed on my mic. I wasn't even thinking.
Can we make that for a ladybug? Rhiannon, when you get back, I want that to be a really special solo of Anthony. This ladybug came right at me. And just,
I'm gonna have Rhiannon zoom way in on it and go slow motion, like
real quick. Anthony, do a terror face, like oh
my god.
Do
Anthony, give me a voice line. Say it's coming straight for us.
It's coming right at me.
Perfect. Oh my god. Anyways, so that's what I was gonna say. If it's just how to use Lightburn and help them feel comfortable, I don't think that's anything that would be like $100 an hour or anything like that. But if you're trying to do like gold and all that kind of stuff, where you're getting into like focusing and showing them tools to use and doing all that kind of stuff, that's more along the lines of like probably 3 figures an hour. Like,
yeah, I feel like Bronson's talking about consulting, which is not what I do. I teach as many people as humanly possible how to do something for as little money as humanly possible. And Bronson is trying to like corner this dude and like be like, you need me.
That's one-on-one coaching.
Yeah, get him, dude.
I would say like
individual education is a completely different deal.
Or don't teach them how to use their laser and do their work.
And then just say, hey, I'll do it for you. But I will say,
if you want to give up, you can always return your machine and here's my card.
Be really careful with jewelry stuff, though, because now you're playing with people's money and antiques. And then like also like my ring is only like a few $100, but it's the one that was given to me by my wife on the day where we said, hey, we'll be together forever. And if you messed it up, I'd stab you in the head a little bit, you know, even if I signed the piece of paper. So just saying, just be really careful with that kind of stuff. So it might be worth just making $75 an hour to teach the guy. Go over there. Just saying. Not, by the way, teaching how to use Lightburn, not how to do the Anthony there. So anyways, that's what I would say. Like value your hour if it's worth your time. And then what I would do though is like say, hey, you know, I'll teach you the basics real quick. But then if you want to do specialized things, I have lesson plans, and you kind of just come up with like, we're going to focus on these 5 things for the first 5 lessons, and there you go. Like just have a plan so you don't seem like a schlub who's like, I know how to press buttons good, you know. So there you go.
I say go the schlub route.
Go schlub route. Hey, come sit down with me. We'll look at buttons together.
I'll take good care of yous, you know.
my name is Alex. Like what?
That's the mad answer I wanted. That's why I got your
Hey kid, I'm a laser.
Your mother was a laser.
Get after it, Bronson. If you got an opportunity, dude, go for it. And last but not least, Jim Hamilton saying, I am considering getting a CO2 Galvo for tumblers. Good choice. Are the coating pretty much the same for the major suppliers? So that's setting The correct setting is not a major problem. No, almost never. In fact, even with the same supplier, batch to batch, they tend to be different very, very often. And that's just the way powder coating is, and it kind of sucks. So if you need to do 200 tumblers, whose dryer is done? If you need to do 200, is it the laser? If you need to do 200 tumblers, make sure they bring you 202. So that you've got something out of that batch that the rest of those 200 came out of, and you can kind of dial things in. I tell people, especially when there's going to be a big dump of them, expect a 2% loss. I just get that in people's heads right away. I'm like, industry standard, 2% loss. 2% of these aren't going to make the cut, and you still have to pay for them. That's just the way it goes. And then I have a little wiggle room. Plus, I usually have them bring in an extra one or two so you can kind of iron those out as you work through them. And I think that's the right answer. Sorry, Kyle. Go ahead.
I was just going to say that the benefit with CO2 versus fiber, because here's the thing, right? Like from batch to batch, when they're creating the tumblers, they're going through an automated machine where they're getting sprayed. But let's just say one of the nozzles has like a partial clog and it doesn't get caught because it's still coating cups. But what that clog does is it affects the spray pattern, and you end up with weird big ass drips or huge clumps of powder coat going onto the cup in a strange pattern. And it's landing such that it generates a thicker coating in some areas versus others. And if you hit that with a fiber laser, what's going to end up happening is the thick areas are not going to burn down to the stainless, and the thin areas are going to burn straight down. And you have two options. You can leave it and say a bunch of expletives, or you can burn it again and hope that the cleanup pass that you do on it doesn't destroy the metal and also removes the paint. And when it doesn't do that, you get to swear again. So that's the downside about fiber with powder coat when you have that like inconsistency. And that is a huge portion of why you need that failure rate built in. With CO2 Galvo, you still have the problem, but you can overdo it and not destroy the metal.
To a point.
You can overburn. Yeah, you can cook the metal and discolor it. You can overburn the soot into the metal and discolor it. But if you're cautious with it, you can do pass and pass and pass. And even after the first pass where it would normally burn off, your second and third pass, if you're careful, won't completely destroy the cup. And you will remove the excess that didn't burn away. And that's the method where you can save yourself. And now you look like a badass to your customer because that 2% industry standard, you just shoved in industry's face and gave them an extra 1%.
Yeah, hell yeah. Turnover, every order that you can like over deliver, that's great.
Yeah. So not an expectation, but it's a bonus, right? Like you're keeping your customer happy, and that's the power of having the right tool for the job. And that's also why we have that video for CO2 Galvo. But that is the most powerful selling point for CO2 Galvo, and why it is the tumbler machine. Yep. Because the flip side to that is if you're doing a tumbler with a CO2 gantry and you try and do the same thing and it's on a roller rotary, good luck. It's probably not going to line back up for the second engrave because it's going to roll funny the second time around when it returns to the start.
It doesn't matter how nice of a rotary you have. I mean, if you do, and I see people like claim that they can rerun tumblers, that's luck. You're getting lucky. And with the CO2 Galvo, luck is a non-factor. It works every single time.
Something has to go horribly wrong for it to screw up so badly that
you'd have to get like attacked by a ladybug or something,
Oh, the ladybugs are coming.
So it's not foolproof. It's not foolproof, but it is exponentially simpler to get it right. there than it is on something like a fiber laser. So
we've
done plenty of both. We have videos about both on the channel, so you can watch those too.
Just for anecdotally info too, right? So there's the hard powder coats, and then there's the rubbery powder coats, right? And one of the big differences that you'll see between those is rubber powder coats will more readily light themselves on fire because of their makeup as a material. So as they're ablating, you'll actually notice that if the gas and the vapor that's ablating off of the cup is going through the beam, it can actually ignite itself, burn down to the cup, and start burning the rubber coating.
Yeah.
So that's also one of those things where you might want to have really, really strong exhaust flow, or if you can't add enough exhaust flow to remove that flare-up chance, which is very difficult. That's a significant amount of funneled air through a very small area. Having a dedicated air assist for your CO2 galvo can also be very helpful, and also reduce your tuning time from cup to cup. So, bonus tip.
I saw you talked about this one a little bit here, Anthony, but I do want to just pull the whole question up. Lynch says 60-watt MOPA, have some chrome Harley parts I want to mark. Thinking doing the Z mark setting, is there a better way to do this? Somebody who was really interested in doing this, Lynch, is Jimmy. He really wanted this done, and I, of course, spent an absurd amount of time trying to figure out how to do it so I could teach him how to do it, because he really, really wanted to do this, and I was never successful. So I don't know if that's going to end up cutting it. I saw your suggestion, Anthony, which was to maybe go for more of like the kind of brute force dark mark like you would do with like a brass. But I think that would just strip the chrome at that point, and you're kind of relying on whatever metal, because chrome, I feel like, and I'm not a chrome expert, but I feel like that application layer is extremely shallow on top of whatever metal you're working with. And I think if you hit it with that much power to do kind of the brute force mark, at that point you're brute force marking whatever is under the chrome. And so that's going to be really dependent too. So I don't think there's a really good answer for this. And I've spent a ton of hours doing it. If you're in chat or watching this after the fact and you have some tips, leave them in the comments or in chat now and we'll call them out. But I've not had success with this after spending a long time on it.
There was a user on Discord today, Plan B, because I was showing off the brass stuff I was doing, and Hamster was asking about like my process for getting like a really good black on brass, because the blacks that I've been getting have been phenomenal. And he said that he does the same for chrome. So I'll try and maybe get a little bit more information out of him.
Yeah.
And if you want to join the conversation on the Discord under #fiber, then we can maybe try and get it hashed out.
Yeah,
no pun intended.
Good way to do it.
There's no ladybug there.
Allison's wondering, are all flasks covered in leatherette laser safe? And I'm just going to jump the gun and say no. But it depends on where you're getting them from. That's the big asterisk on that. So order that kind of shit from people you know care about your health and your ability to continue to consume from them, because not everybody does. A great place to get that kind of stuff is our sponsor, Johnson Plastics Plus. Again, link down in the description. They have it's called the Saddle Collection, and they have a really nice, really, really high quality collection of laser safe leatherettes that you can dig through. They come in a bunch of different shades and colors, and they're 100% worry free. So that is really what you want to go for. That said, there are other options too, but make sure when you're shopping from that stuff, that is not something that I would go to Amazon for. That is something I would buy from a dealer that sells things to people for laser marking specifically. We mentioned, it wasn't that long ago, I think it was like October, November before Christmas last year, we did a big episode recommending a bunch of different products. And we did a highlight for Johnson Plastics Plus because I took the time on Amazon to go through all of the leatherette listings that I could literally find, and not one of them specified what type of leatherette they were using. So you couldn't find out if it was PVC or polyurethane or something else. And there was literally no indication in the listing being able to tell what actual material that you're working with. And that's one of the reasons why I always recommend going through a reputable dealer, especially when it comes to leatherettes. That's something you really want to be super duper careful with, not just for your health, but for the health of your equipment too. Because when you are in a situation where you could be working on PVC unknowingly, man, you're gonna thrash your equipment just as quick as you're gonna thrash yourself. So I highly recommend going the safe, albeit likely more expensive route on that, to make sure you're getting a quality, safe, and functional material. That's my answer.
I'll add to that too. So in the past, I've ordered stuff for people for projects off of Amazon, and it's not Amazon's fault. It was the particular seller's fault that was selling on Amazon. But in the title, they listed it as PU, as in polyurethane leatherette,
which is good, safe material.
Yeah, generally speaking, that is what you need to be looking at when you're looking for leatherette that's laser safe. The problem with that is, for some reason, importers and people who just don't understand the difference will put that in the title thinking that's what it is when it's not, and they're actually listing vinyl as PU in the title, and then in the description they're listing it as vinyl, or they're not putting anything in the description in terms of material. And when you contact them, they either don't know, can't verify it, or they come back saying vinyl. So if the seller doesn't have a history of selling specifically laser safe material, I would almost not trust that if it just says polyurethane in the title and nothing else. I probably wouldn't trust it.
Yeah, which is a great lead in, Kyle, to her follow-up. My client bought the flasks online but can't remember where. Should I assume they're safe to engrave? And I agree with Kyle. In this situation, I would say no, and I'd probably return those to the client and be like, unfortunately, I did some research. These are unsafe to mark. If you're still really interested in getting this work done, there's a couple options. We could get some of the laser safe leather and maybe like do a wrap with like some adhesive if you're feeling really adventurous, or I can order some leatherette flasks for you from a reputable dealer that I know will be safe for me to work with and give you a good result. Here are the prices for those. That's probably what I would do. Do you guys agree?
Yeah. I think the only other thing I would say is, because if it's vinyl based, I mean, technically vinyl isn't UV safe, but PVC is, or at least that's my understanding. If you're careful with it and do it correctly, which that's a whole nother conversation that we've had 3 weeks ago now.
Yeah.
But
thanks, Kat.
You could, if you're very careful with it, you could potentially approach it with a UV if you do it the right way. But again, it's still a risk. And it's probably not one you really probably want to go out of your way to make.
It's not worth it.
Yeah. Well, and she was talking about, I think, having an F1, so that's diode and fiber, and it's an enclosed system too. So if you get chlorine gas from vinyl fumes inside that F1,
you're gonna nuke the enclosure.
It's gonna be
You're gonna nuke the enclosure. The fan bearings are gonna insta rust in the exhaust fan, and everything on the way out is going to crap itself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and she's saying it's a local police department. That's okay.
Yeah,
people buy things and they buy it wrong. They think that by buying it off of Amazon, they're going to get a better deal. And
see if they can get the receipt like out of their email inbox, or figure out where they got it from.
Yeah,
is the best.
I have a feeling that even once you get the information on where it came from, it's not going to matter, because they're not. It's not. They didn't order them from a laser engraving dealer. They ordered it from some random pop-up shop somewhere on Amazon or some other website, and that's just the way it is. So, you know, sometimes you just gotta throw your shoulders up and be like, sorry, you know, like I don't vouch for that path often in, you know, this job. I'm a yes man, but that's a no. That's a no from me, dog.
Yeah, you only get one set of lungs.
Yeah,
I mean, the machine can be replaced, but you only get one set of lungs.
Yeah, I agree. And Jim said, based on what you're saying, you should not do one-ups until you have lots of experience doing tumblers. Really, like any piece, honestly, because just what I was going to tell you guys. So like these, there should be zero cleanup, but basically I wiped. I could tell that there was extra. Like, and you guys who have done this before probably know, even this kind of stuff, sometimes the stuff on top is not as thick. And so you'll actually burn down into the softer material. And that's just what happened a second ago with the settings that I used on the last batch. So these are a little bit thinner. They might be older. They might have been sitting on the shelf a little bit longer. They could be anything that makes the material degrade a little bit. So I'm going to lighten up my power from 25% probably to like 22% so that I don't have cleanup. But then the thing is, there was a huge difference, and all it was just a little bit of degreaser on a little microfiber rag, and you just spray, wipe it across once, and that's what I was trying to show you. Like it looks really, really nice, right? So, but if you didn't take that second to clean up, and you can see the depth on it, like I don't know if you guys can see or not, but like right here, I think that's kind of clear. Like you can actually get a finger in there. You shouldn't be able to go that deep into the material.
How deep, Matt?
One of my Alexisms for the show is lasering is like cooking. You can always add, but you can't take it away. So,
by the way, also whenever you're doing one-ups and stuff, remember that the box opens this way, right? Like I don't know how many times I've like gotten the thing all lined up. I did all the
something backwards,
and then I hit the button, and it was this way. It's like,
oh, go ahead.
Shit. I was gonna say, you just go shit, and it's just like that. You hope that when they get there, that they see it and they're like, oh.
Okay.
So have that. If you're doing 8 of them, make sure like the.
You know what you tell them if you put that on the box upside down, you open it and you say, "Oh, it's so that it's right side up when it's open."
Yeah,
for people that are looking.
Or you could just not fuck up.
Yeah, or you could just not fuck up. And that's my thing about the tumblers. So if you're doing one-offs on tumblers and you can't afford to replace it, you're not charging enough for your one-offs.
Yeah.
That's my input on that. So because 100%. every 5 of those you should be able to buy a new one at the very least. You really should be charging enough that you can buy a second one and break even. But you know, that's up to you, and that's pricing, and that's locale based. And again, we've talked about that on the show a million times. So I don't want to do a full rehash. But if you are charging so little that buying a replacement for something like that is going to bleed you, then I would charge more. That's part of how you have to deal with that on the one-offs. Usually everything turns out fine, by the way.
There's a reason why I charge double for doing Stanley's.
Yeah, that's why.
Yeah, that's why. Because Stanley's charge a premium at the counter. So as an insurance policy for my pocket, I will charge extra to engrave those. Because in the 2 to 4% loss of me knowing what I'm doing with that cup, there's still going to be an oddball that gets ruined, and I don't want to pay and lose money on it.
$35 for a cup.
Yeah,
we always talk about problems on the show because we're here to help you solve them. But powder coat is in the world of laser engraving, in my opinion, powder coat is an exceptionally consistent material. It's super consistent. It's super easy to mark if you have the right tools and you're doing things the right way and you have a little bit of practice. Powder coat is very, very, very easy to work with compared to some other things. The fuck-ups that we keep mentioning, again, at least in my experience, are the exception, not the rule. Powder coat's usually super easy and generally doesn't have a lot of problems. So if you haven't done a lot of them or you don't have a lot of practice, don't panic. This is not a butt puckerer. material or item. This is
especially
like
with CO2.
This is run of the mill shit. And usually this kind of, if you have any idea what you're doing at all, should be absolutely fine. So don't work it up to be like this huge thing. We're just saying, like, in that case, these are your options. It's not even likely to happen to you if you go into it the right way. So,
yeah.
And of course, there's a ton of places if you want to get a head start to do that, like our Facebook group or the Discord or any of the new Make Army sites that we've set up that you can find over at makearmy.io, or the LMA if you want to support the channel while you're at it. You can find out more about that over at masters.lasereverything.net. Shout out to all our LMA supporters that make the show possible. And another shout out, even though you guys have gotten so much from us today, Johnson Plastics Plus. They really are great. It's an amazing resource. They're a trusted reseller for so many things, not just leatherette. And you can find out more about that, as well as the 15% discount with code YLRZDF, though it may change. Matt loves to mention that. It'll always be down in the description for you, so you can go find that too. You never know. Anything could happen.
Today's code just for awesome is Ladybug. LADYBUG.
That's not true. Don't put that in. That won't do anything.
Okay.
I don't know. Thank you guys so much for watching. Kyle, Matt, Anthony, for another week. You continue to show up, and I continue to be grateful. Thanks for being here. Appreciate you guys. And if you were here live, I appreciate you too. Cheryl thinks butt puckerer is funny. And I think that's all we've got. Unless you guys have anything else.
If you have any questions that we missed or we didn't get to, or you think of them later, or you just really loved listening to the show, leave your favorite part of the show or your question in a comment down below.
Yeah, comments help so much.
Yeah.
Comments are
Let us know
helpful.
that you love my bald, sensuous head, or Matt's awesome beard, or Alex's rough demeanor, or
I thought you were going to say my pussy.
Loving face. I don't know. Samson. You can say you love Samson too.
Yeah, you can. He's a
whatever.
good boy.
Whatever it is that you love, leave it in a comment for us, because we'd love to hear it, and smash that like button too.
He's my old man.
You. Yeah,
he's
a good boy.
Okay.
Good boy.
Laser cat. Pew, pew, pew. We need memes
Pew,
of
pew.
Samson.
That's all we've got, guys. Thank you so much for listening, and we will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Pew, 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 pew.
Bye.